Hello, Pastor Steve. I want to share with you another reason that we can find rest upon the rock of the Lord Jesus Christ during these challenging times that we face. And one of those reasons we find in Matthew chapter 11, starting in verse 28. And it's in fact a time when Jesus is speaking about rest specifically. In Matthew 11:28, he says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." So, what does this all mean? Well, first, he's talking to those, he says, who labor and are heavy laden. The idea there is those who are tired out, right? And when we think of labor, we often think of work. And, for some of us, work may or may not be a lot of physical labor, right? In some cases, it may be. But there's more in terms of work out there than just our occupation or what we do to make a living, right? Sometimes life can seem like it's a lot of work. There's challenges that we face. This year alone, we've seen a lot of political fighting. We've seen the pandemic. We've seen civil unrest. Just recently, we've seen storms like haven't been seen. In fact, in recent years, if you think about the number of very significant storms in our nation alone, it's pretty mind-boggling. Just a lot of things that can create work, anxiety, difficulty. And Jesus says to you who might be tired, maybe you're not physically tired, maybe you're emotionally tired, maybe you just feel drained. Maybe spiritually you feel like, I'm really not where I should be. I'm not connected to the Lord like I should be. And that absolutely can have an impact on our vitality and our well-being. Maybe it's some other issue, right? Maybe there's a medical or a financial issue that's been weighing upon your mind and causing it to seem like life is just a lot of work. Well, you're just the type of person that Jesus is talking to here. His prescription, he says, come to him. Follow him. Surrender to him. Right? He says, come to me. And you think about how he called his disciples and those who would become apostles and the founders of the church. He says, come to me. And I picture this or hear this in my mind as a gentle exhortation, a loving call. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Isn't that exactly what those who are labor and are heavy laden, or weary and burdened, as some of your translations might say? Isn't rest exactly what they're looking for? I love that about Jesus, that he knows what we need, and he's working in our lives before we even ask to provide that for us, to give that to us. And he goes on and he tells us more about how to do that. And I love that about the Lord. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Check this out. For I am gentle and lowly in heart, or humble. So take my yoke. To take the yoke of a teacher was to take their teaching upon them. That's why he says, take my yoke upon you, right? A disciple, right, at the time would have been known to take the yoke of the master. So he's just saying, learn from him. And we learn from him through his word, the Bible, right? So he says, take my yoke, learn from me. Why? Because I'm gentle. I'm lowly in heart. And then check this out. He says, you will find rest for your souls. That's a deeper rest than just physical rest. Now, I love a good nap. Maybe you like a good nap too, right? And that can be rejuvenating. It can make you feel better. But that's not the kind of rest Jesus is talking about. It might include that, don't get me wrong. But this rest for your souls is deeper than that. I think you understand what he's saying about this depth of rest in our soul. He says, you will find rest for your souls. in the deepest part of who you are, you'll find rest. And he wraps it up, at least this section, saying, for my yoke is easy, right? My training, my learning from me is easy, and my burden is light. Maybe you've taken burdens upon yourself that aren't from the Lord. And this isn't to say that we're not going to have challenging times, but we can walk through those times in the love and grace of God. So let me encourage you, wherever you're at, whatever time it is where you're listening, come to Jesus. Take his yoke, his learning upon you. Learn from him, follow him, and find rest for your souls. Spend some time in the Word today, 5 minutes if that's what you have. Pray, talk to God, and enjoy the Lord. He loves you. God bless you.